Hi, I just wanted to get on here and say today is my last day of being in my 30s. Tomorrow I will officially be in my 40s, and how time has just flown by. It's unbelievable. It's so crazy to think, like, man, you are older. So much older than you could possibly even imagine. But I just wanted to share about the mercy of God and how God has blessed my life in the past 10 years. Up until that time, I lived kind of a really rough life. I was addicted to drugs, and I didn't really have like much of a deal with alcohol, but I was really addicted to heroin and meth, and did other things, and my life was just, it was chaotic. It was a chaotic mess. And I remember not wanting that lifestyle, but I chose that lifestyle. It was kind of handed down to me as like I feel like it was a generational curse, because my dad and my mom abandoned me. They literally abandoned me at 2 months old. They went to my grandma's, and they told my grandma that they'd be back, and they just never came back for me. And so that kind of set up, I think, like spiritual, right? Generational curses. It kind of set up my life. And, there was things that my dad was doing that I didn't even realize that I was doing. There was things my mom was doing that I didn't know I was doing as I got older. And anyhow, I was in jail, and before I went to jail, I remember feeling so sad and depressed and anxious, and I really wanted to leave, and I wanted a different life. And so my brother, he's passed away now. He actually died from drug addiction, drug disease, for just doing stuff he shouldn't have been doing, and got a blood disease because he was using dirty needles. And it's such a story for another time. But he ended up getting, they call it like black heart, and it's a disease where it kills your heart. Well, this was one of my favorite brothers. Like, we were really close, and he was always with me through all of my trials and everything that I was doing. He was always by my side. And I remember like trying to convince him, let's go down to Cali and let's start a new life, and let's just leave the Reds behind. Let's leave Lemmy alone, and let's just head out because we're from the Reds. And I'm like, don't you want something different? Don't you want a different life? And I remember my car was packed, and I remember I ended up going to jail literally right after I talked to him, a couple of days after I talked to him about it. And I went to jail, and I was detoxing. I was really sick. I was laying on the floor, and I remember asking God to forgive me. And I had tasted the mercy of God because I had went to prison prior. I remember getting very close to the Lord, and not because of anybody's influence, but because I dedicated my life to reading the Bible. And as I read the Bible, I got close to God, and God got close to me. As the Word of God says, first draw close to me, and then I'll draw close to you. Well, I didn't know that principle then. I was just reading the Word of God because I had known that this was the only person that was going to be able to help my life. And so I asked God to, forgive me, Lord. I know that I've been messing up, and, I know that I'm about to go back to prison, and I'm going for a really long time. And I knew it was going to be over 10 years because of the amount of stuff that I was caught with. And I was on my way for over 10 years. It was a really long time, and I was crying, and I just was like, Lord, all I need is you, and I just need my relationship to be close to you, and I just want that closeness that I once had with you before. And I remember writing down on the underneath the table, and I think it was either underneath the table or it was on the stool, I'm only going to be here 2 months. And I put my name and my initials. And I want to go and ask an officer if he can take me into that unit to see if I can find where that saying is and where I wrote that down at. But I marked it, I dated it, put my initials on it. I think I even might have wrote my name. And that weekend, now my husband came to see me. Well, I almost denied the visit because I didn't know who he was. I didn't recognize him. I had never seen him. I've only seen him once before in passing. And it's not like we had any type of conversation or, had any dialogue for me to even know him or even recognize him, like even at the slightest little bit. And my cousin had his back turned when the CO was saying, do you want to accept this visit? And I was like, no, I don't know this guy. I don't know who he is. And as I was saying that, my cousin turns around and I was like, well, that's my cousin. And he's like, okay, so do you want to go with the visit or not? And so I go into that little room and I start visiting. And the weirdest moment, my cousin was like, hey, my buddy wanted to come and see you, and he wanted to see how you were doing, and he wants to talk to you. It was so awkward. And so I get on the phone because you have to talk through a phone even though you're through a glass. It's really weird. And so you can look at each other, like I could see their body, they could see mine, like we were, it's through a thick glass, kind of like you would see on TV. And so he picks up the phone and he's like, hi, my name is so and so, and I just wanted to see if I can come and visit you from here on out. And I thought it was a joke, and I was like, I guess, like, I don't know what you're expecting. And if I could remember right, he was like, I just want to come and visit you. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm like, I guess that's all right. And so he gives the phone back to my cousin, and my cousin starts telling me, like, I was like, what's the deal? Because he had walked down the hallway. There's this hallway that you can walk down. And I was like, bro, what's this guy's deal? And he's like, I don't know, man. He just wants to come and see you. And he's been pressing me and like really pushing me to find you and get a hold of you. And God is what happened. I didn't know at the time, but God's mercy is what happened. And God put in this man's heart a profound love that you couldn't even explain to anybody. And he was like in love with me, like literal love with me. And he didn't even know what was going on. Like, he didn't even understand it. And now that I know him, I know he's not the type to just go and see some random girl at jail or even hunt anybody down. That's just not his character. He's a very quiet man. He's very reserved. He's very watches everything. He's just precious to me in so many different ways. But he's not the type to put himself out there in any way, shape, or form at all. And so for him to do that was like a really big deal. So faithfully, he comes to see me every week, 1 hour a week. And he had missed like one visit. And 2 months later, my friend, my cellie, was like, call him. He put money on the phone so you can call him. And I'm like, no, I don't want this man to expect anything from me. And mind you, 3 weeks into him coming to see me, I wrote him a letter. I wrote him a letter telling him how my life was, what I did, who I was, that I was strung out on drugs. And is this the life I wanted to live? No. Is it the life that I chose for myself? Yes. Am I going to jail? Yeah, I'm in jail. I'll be going to prison for a really long time. And I wanted him to know that I'm not just this sweet little girl that got in trouble one time. Like, jail was my home away from home. It's like all the COs know me. Every cop knew me, and they knew when I got into the county jail that I was going to be there for a long time. And so it wasn't like unusual for me to be at the county jail. And that's what my cousin told him. My cousin said, if you can't get a hold of her on Messenger, she's in jail. And my husband's like, no. And he didn't believe it. My cousin's was like, yeah. And he's like, okay, let's look her up. Sure enough, they look me up and they find me in Whatcom County Jail. And anyhow, so my husband's, 3 weeks into it, I tell him everything. And he said at that moment is when something clicked and like he fully fell in love with me. Well, from that moment on, he had tried to get me out. He was just coming out of like a relationship that he has older kids that he had been with their mom for quite a while. And so he was just trying to kind of get his life established. He had been like single for like 5 years, kind of dated somebody for a little bit, but it wasn't somebody that he saw his future with or anything like that. And anyhow, So God had put it in his heart to like fall in love, right, with me. And I'm tripping through this whole thing. And my celly's asking me to call him. And I'm like, I don't want to call this guy. Like, I don't want him to have any, I don't want there to be any type of connections. I don't want there to be any type of emotional connection. And I'm going away for a long time. And what this man's just going to, make me feel some type of way and then dog me out. Like, no, thank you. I'm not doing it. And so my celly begged me to call him that night. And I was like, I'm not doing it, Ezzy. I'm not calling him. That was her name. And so I finally break. I cave. I call him. And he's like, how would you like to come and stay the night with me? And I kind of laughed it off. And I was like, yeah, it's so funny, And I was like, wishful thinking. And he's like, no, no, I'm serious. I paid your bail and you're getting out tonight. And I hung up on him. Oh, maybe I didn't, not that time. I didn't, because I called him once before. And I was like, it was cute because he was like, he had told me he loved me and I hung up on him because I was tripping. Like, what is going on? This is so weird. And anyhow, that was another time, another story. So he says, you're getting out. And I was like, no way, there's no way. And he was like, yeah, I'm just waiting for them to post your bail. I posted it already. Me and Cassidy, your cousin, went down there. We posted your bail already. And I was like, no way. And so I asked one of the COs, and the COs was like, I don't know. You're just going to have to wait and see. I didn't get no call. And so I was like, this man's tripping. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever, and we hang up. And my celly looks at me, and she could tell by the look on my face. And she's like, he paid your bail, didn't he? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what he says. And she's like, they're going to roll you up. They're going to come roll you up. And sure enough, lights out, 10 o'clock, right? They lock us down every night. And so they lock you down within a cell in a cell. And so they call lockdown. I'm locked down and I'm nervous. And now I'm nervous because I don't know if this man's playing with my heart, playing with my emotions, like messing with me, And I'm tripping because I'm like, what if he did pay my bail? Then what does that mean? Does that mean that I'm going to go out and I'm going to start messing up again? And I don't want to go back to the life that I had. And I was trying to get away from it. And this is like my escape. Like, jail right now is my cleanup spot. And this is where I need to get clean. Sure enough, 10:30 rolls around. They say, man, roll it up. And roll it up. For anybody that was in county or in any type of jail, that means grab your stuff. You're leaving. And I was like, what do you mean roll it up? I was like questioning the cop. And he's like, if you don't hurry it up, I'm gonna, it was funny actually, because that cop is now my neighbor. And he was like, roll it up. And so I rolled it up. And I used to sing to all the girls on the third floor. Like, they would be like, hey, can you sing for me? So I'd sing for him. And this guy, it was like, he would always talk about like, you could go places in life and you have a pretty voice and why don't you use that to change your life around? And I was like, yeah, whatever. So this is the cop that's telling me, let's go places, right? Like, it's time to go, roll it up. And so I'm like freaking out. I give all my stuff to my celly. I give her a big hug and I leave. I get downstairs and I'm so weirded out by everything that's going on because, mind you, just 2 months ago, I was crying on the floor, asking God to forgive me for all of my sins. And I felt the presence of God from the top of my head all the way down my body. Something physically left the palm of my hands and the bottom of my feet. Physically. There was a physical warm pull of something that rushed, like almost like, when you get a blood rush or a brain rush or whatever it is, and you kind of like, you feel like if you're standing upside down or you're doing a handstand or whatever, or you're hanging off the bed and then you sit up and all the blood rushes through your body. That's what it felt like. So I felt the presence of the Lord in that jail cell come through my head, my body, everything. Well, while I was in jail, I wasn't fully clean and I wasn't fully being like transparent of like being honest about not using, right? I mean, I didn't really have anybody to answer to anyway. But there was stuff that was going in and out, and I was like dabbling in whatever. But the night my guy comes to get me out, I had used something that day. And I had to make a conscious decision from that moment going forward that this was going to be the change of my life, and that God had heard my prayer, and God had answered me, and God was delivering me from what I was dealing with. And I didn't know at the time it was a spirit of addiction. But from that moment, I made a decision that I'm not doing this anymore and I can't. And no matter what it takes, I'm going to be sober. I don't know if that means that I'm going to be with this guy or not, but I know that my life needs to change. And this is God's, and this is my answer right now. God is answering my prayer. So I get out, I go downstairs, and long and behold, now my husband wasn't then, is standing there, and he gives me this big old hug. And he's the sweetest man. Like, I just love him. I'm so grateful. I'm so honored to be his wife. I cherish this man. And he just adores me. Like, he genuinely loves me. Like, God, oh, I get emotional. God showed me patience when I got with this man, because I was going through like this massive detox, right? So it takes like a year for your body to kind of get back on normal. And I didn't know what normal was because I was always using. So I had these like fluctuating emotions. Like one moment I was good, one moment I was sad, one moment I was questioning life, and one moment I didn't know if I wanted to be with this guy, and I was tripping, right? And on top of that, I had massive PTSD from my kids' dad, my older kids' dad, trying to kill me, like literal dragging me into the woods, choking me out, blacking me out, like literally trying to kill me, beating me while I was pregnant. Like, this man had done a lot. So had all of that, and I was having nightmares while I was sleeping next to my husband, and I was having nightmares about my kids' dad. And I was with this guy for a very long time, 12, 13, just 11 to 13 years, something like that. I think it was like 12 years, something like that. We were together. It was a long time we were together, from 13 until I was like 24, something like that. Yeah, about 24, 25, something like that. And anyhow, I'm having nightmares next to him, and I'm waking up in the middle of the night, and I'm having panic attacks, and I'm waking up and I'm thinking, and I'm saying while I'm asleep that I still loved my kids' dad, and I was stressed out, and I was like tripping, like, you ruined our family, and I was saying all this stuff, right? Well, this sweet gentleman is laying next to me. He just holds me close, and I had to reassure him, because I wasn't in love with my ex. Like, there was a lot of mind games that this man was playing with me. Like, still on the side, he was like coming to see me while he was still with his kids. It was just weird. Anyhow, so he kind of played a lot of mind tricks on my mind. And so I think that bled into why I was feeling what I was feeling. And so this sweet man would just hold me and tell me that he loved me, and that he understood. And I didn't realize the depth of what he understood, because I didn't know that this was something that he had experienced, with his family. And so anyhow, throughout this last 10 years, God has blessed my life, and God has turned my life around, and God, and the mercy of God is so real. And when he says, I died for you while you were still a sinner, I had no idea what that meant. I didn't realize that even though I was using, and even though I was in active addiction, and even though I was in that jail, and even though I was still using, and even though I was still in this mindset of, I can't do anything better than what I'm doing now, God is rich in his mercy, poured out his love, and changed my life. And for the last 10 years, God has blessed me with a good relationship with my older kids, with my youngest daughter's 9, with a beautiful husband, with a beautiful home, a beautiful car, a beautiful job. And now I'm giving back to my community, and I'm giving back to those who raised me, right? And so I look back on the past 10 years, and I'm about to be 40. And these last 10 years have been the best years of my whole life. Like, I can't even make that up if I wanted to. This past 10 years, God has really shown me the depth of his love that he has for his people, and how much he wants to intervene in a situation where you're struggling. And he's waiting for the invite. Let me tell you, invite God, ask him. For I didn't know that repentance was a requirement. When I was in prison and I was following Jesus, I didn't understand the Bible. So all I knew is I was reading the Bible, but the Bible was reading me. And whatever was happening in the Bible, I wanted it. I didn't know the principles. I didn't know the keys. I didn't know any of this stuff. Like, God himself was teaching me. And so again, God himself was flowing through me out of that jail cell. And I was asking him, forgive me, Lord, forgive me that I walked away from you. Forgive me that I set your word down. Forgive me that I went my own way. Forgive me, right? And I'm praying all this stuff. Again, God's principles, God's flowing out of me. And so his mercy is far beyond anything you could possibly even imagine. His love for you is far beyond anything you could ever think of. And if you just took a minute to really ask God to step in and help you, and then you did your part by drawing closer to him or even praying. You know what's crazy? Well, the crazy part is after I prayed that prayer, like, I read my Bible. I did read my Bible in there. But it wasn't like I was fully grasping a relationship with the Lord. It wasn't like I was grabbing the Bible and applying all this stuff to my life. I wasn't doing any of that. But again, God is so rich in his mercy, was pouring out his abundance on me and was pouring out his favor on my life. And when I was in jail, I didn't realize that within 2 months I was going to get out and my life was going to start to rapidly change. I had no idea. I just thought, I'm on my way to prison. And I knew that I was going to prison for a really long time, and it was going to be over 10 years, 10 to 14 years I was going to do. And there's so much more to the story that I really want to get into. I was really only supposed to make a couple-minute video, but I just I'm just saying this to be encouraging to whoever's listening, to whoever's broken, to whoever's depressed, anxious. I want to say so many more other things that society says to learn to deal with. That's not what God wants for you. That's not the mercy of God, and that's not what he has for your life. And so if you just took a moment to ask God to step in and to intervene and to show himself to you, he would. Even if the simplest prayer is, Lord, forgive me. All I need is you. And that's all I could say in that jail cell, on that floor, on the cold, cold floor as it was detoxing. All I could say is, God, I need you. Forgive me. I just need you. I need you in my life. I need you in my time as I go back to prison. And as I do this time, I need you. And I only need the presence of God to get me through. I need nothing else. And by God's mercy, he heard that and answered so much more. And so I just want to say this, that when he said he died for you while we were still sinners, he meant it. He meant it. And he is waiting for you to call out to him, and then he will intervene and he will act. But until you do that, God isn't doing anything. Because I remember on the outs, I would always say, God help me, but I didn't really mean it. Like, I didn't really want God to help me. I wanted God to get me out of a situation, or I wanted God to do something for me. But it wasn't like, help me, I want to become more like you. It wasn't anything like that, you know? And still, even through all of that, God was hearing my prayers and God was with me. And so my heart I'm just thinking, and I've been so grateful through this day. And I woke up this morning and I just started thinking, like, this is my last day in my 30s. This is my very last day in my 30s. And this past decade has been the best of my life that it could have ever possibly ever even been. And God's mercy is what got me here, not me. Not my own doings, not my own works, not my own abilities, but it was only by the mercy of God that I am where I am today. And as I step into this new era, I guess, I don't know what you want to call it, this new decade, being 40, I'm going to honor and cherish and love the Lord, and I'm going to encourage as many people as I possibly can for them to know and for them to experience the true love and the power of God, because it is very real. He is very real. He loves you and wants to have a relationship with you. So my daughter's over here and she's playing softball. Let me see if I can switch the camera, and I can't. So anyhow, I just wanted to jump on here and say how tremendously blessed I've been for the last 10 years and where I was before, and how God has totally changed my life. And I can't take credit for none of that. And you know, there's a beautiful sunset, and there's my sweet little girl over there playing softball. That's actually her. I just wanted to come on here to say, don't ever think that you're too far for God to not step in and do something about your life, because God is capable of anything. He spoke the world into existence. He breathed life into dirt and it became a whole man. Give him a chance to see what he can do in your life. Bye. Love y'all.